process. And it turns out that Jared Kushner security clearance was pending, and it had all kinds of circumstances. Well, now he's been given his security clearance. So if you've been following the program here with Congressman Keating, you know that's something we've been interested in from the beginning because it's been, I thought, bizarre. As I'm a supporter of President Trump, as you all know, but I have thought the Kushner involvement in the administration was bizarre. Well, as I see now, we have Congressman Keating joining us this morning, so we're going to go right to speak with him. Good morning, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Chris. Eventful morning, isn't it?
It's incredible. Let's. I know you've been very busy down there. Let's run through this stuff pretty quick. First of all, the Kushner thing. What do you make of it that he's had his security clearance given to him? Apparently.
Well, as you and I have been discussing over the last several weeks, it's surprising to me. I'll be honest that this came through. They're saying this is just the normal course. I think you and I discussed this. It hasn't been the normal course.
No.
Of a background check, and to say, oh, well, it takes time and resources. This is the son-in-law of the president and a person he's given the task of managing Middle East peace plan. So there should be no issue about, oh, well, these things drag on. I mean, they could light the fire at any time and have gotten this done more quickly. So it does prompt questions in my mind. Number one, exactly how the process went. The way it works, the White House has the last call on this. And so we may or may not ever know how much was there and how much they just said, we're going ahead with this, giving him the clearance anyways. That remains a mystery that we might know in time and we might not. The other issues we discussed in terms of Jared, though, still have to be exhausted in terms of some questions. Was he indeed having meetings in the White House and bringing up the discussions for funding his own personal debt of $1.2 billion? We know that one loan company that was agreed to do that, and that was the biggest loan that they had, 3 times the largest loan they had ever given. So, and now we're hearing the Qatar source of funding directly or indirectly is now agreeing to pay some of that. So some question marks remain, but I'm sure from his standpoint, he's glad that this is behind him.
Sure.
But there's more, I think, that we'll hear about Jared Kushner.
And we'll count on you to keep us abreast of that. So we're speaking with Congressman Bill Keating. Congressman, talk about your engagement in committee with the new CIA director, the former CIA director, now the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo.
Well, first off, it was interesting. Just yesterday, when a question about the North Korea summit that was supposed to occur in June in Singapore, he told the committee that everything was, on pace and was all set for that June 12th summit. So that's the news he delivered yesterday to the Foreign Affairs Committee. Just about an hour or so ago, there was a release from the White House that the White House is calling that off. So that's something, a quick turnaround from yesterday where the Secretary of State said it was on, all systems go, and today calling it off. So, that's a surprise, and it's unfortunate because the one thing we all wanted was for the administration to be successful, for the president to be successful going forward and having a diplomatic means of dealing with this situation. Now the president has called that off.
Now, from what you're hearing, it's fresh news. I came in, preparing for the show, and I went, well, all right. How do I prepare for this? It just breaks right as I come on the air. That that we're pulling out of the North Korean summit. Are they pulling out with prejudice, or are they pulling out with a hope that they can restart this discussion?
Well, according to the president's letter to Kim Jong Un, that I think your listeners will be able to get online right now, probably. And if you don't have a copy, we'll get one to you. But this is the letter was talking about the dialogue they've had, but he just sadly said that there was. Here, I'll quote it for you, Chris.
Sure.
I was very much looking forward to being there with you, meaning the president writing this to Kim Jong Un. Sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long planned meeting. So that, it was his recent statement by Kim Jong Un that the president thought was angry and hostile that was given as the reason for him calling this off.
Yeah, we have to. Look, the President Trump didn't start this. This has been going on for decades and decades. Well, look, it started under the Truman administration. This affairs with North Korea, but obviously it's in everyone's interest, the world's interest, to get this done. I know you're very busy down there today with all the things going on. I want to just shift here to what you're doing on the opioid crisis. I know that you recently have gotten, you've been following that thing, been working on that issue, been sponsoring legislation. You have a new bill that you're putting forward with the opioid crisis. Congressman Keating, talk to us about that.
Well, we had been successful in dealing with the naloxone issue, making sure that there weren't any barriers for people who were getting opioid prescriptions. If they were getting, extensive prescriptions because of chronic pain, serious conditions, people who were terminally ill. We wanted to make sure that the doctors felt they had the ability to also prescribe without any question in terms of liability and other reasons, Narcan as well, or naloxone as it's known. And what this legislation does is to expand that to other types of non-prescription drugs and having that available as well. As you know, with the terrible epidemic we've had in our country and in our region, lives are being saved with Narcan. Our emergency responders are using those. The people are getting the chance to go into treatment and get help from that standpoint on. We want to make sure that this was available as well. And fentanyl is often available.
Yes.
As a anesthesic tool, so this expands that.
Okay.
The other language we put in was adopted in a piece of legislation and became law. Now we're hopeful that this will do the same.
Excellent. Hey, Congressman, we had a question from a hangover from Phil's show on the Indian legislation that you had put forward, the bipartisan legislation that affects the Mashpee Indians. Do you have any updates on that?
Well, I think that it's going. It's the Wampanoag tribe, which is in Mashpee, in my district on the Cape. They had been concerned that the Interior Department, and there was reason to believe it's true, was going to take back some of their rights. That would have affected their ability to take land, hold land, which includes in Taunton, the casino that's there as well. My focus, though, was that taking that away would effectively wipe the tribe out. And this is the tribe of the first light, the first Thanksgiving, and important in our overall region. So it was an effort to protect that. There was also some suggested language to protect the town of Mashpee even further than it always was, sort of reinforcing what was there. So I think it doesn't meet much opposition. It's a bipartisan bill. There are several sponsors, both sides of the aisle, sponsoring this. And I don't think there's a great deal of controversy in trying to move it forward. It's just very difficult in this Congress as we know it, winding down to get traction on anything. Even the Farm Bill, the last week that we talked, Chris.
Breaking news.
Something that appeared to be routine. I was beginning to hear on the floor misgivings of colleagues on both sides of the aisle, particularly on the Republican side, where they said, we're not satisfied with this. And it's unfortunate in some respects that we can't come to an agreement on such a basic, usually non-controversial bill.
Yeah, I mean, those are the big vehicles. Well, Congressman, I know you're very busy today, so I'm gonna let you run because there's all kinds of things developing in Washington as we're seeing on the television here on the show. I want to thank you very much for giving us a shout, and have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks. Bye-bye. That was Congressman Bill Keating. We'll be right back.